FTL, a classic of the roguelike genre. Released in 2012 and made by Subset Games, it brought a unique twist not only to strategy games, giving a blend of both real-time, fast-making decisions, while also letting the player carefully assess the situation and strategize thanks to the pause button, as well as the game's many text events. The game, however, does have flaws, and one of the biggest ones is probably the inequality between weapons, systems, augments, and our main subject for today, ships. Some ships have incredibly good loadouts and will have little to no problems throughout the entire run. The Zoltan A, for example, starts with the Zoltan Shield, one of the best augments in the entire game, as well as the Halberd Beam, one of the best weapons in the entire game, that will shred through both early and late game. Not all ships are created equally. In fact, some of them are quite bad. The Rock A, for instance, uses only missile weapons to damage the enemy crew, a tactic so effective you will need to change the ship into something else entirely by Sector 2. Among these bad ships, however, none quite fascinates me as the Vortex, aka the ENGI B. Not just because of the ship itself and what it tries to achieve, though that is a factor, but also because of how modders tried to make the ship viable compared to the rest of the player's fleet. So today, I would like to dive into a couple of examples on how fans tried to make the Vortex good. A disclaimer before we start though, I am not the best at FTL. I have never beaten the game on hard, and I haven't even beaten all the ships on normal. As such, my opinion should not be taken as gospel, and in fact I would love to hear your opinions. With all of that said, let us continue. But before we get into the reworks, we should first examine the vanilla ship to realize why it's so bad. First, let's examine its systems. Shield layer, 3 weapons, and level 1 engines. Now, usually this isn't too much of a problem. After all, it's only a 15 scrap upgrade to get it back to level 2. But here's the thing. There is no one to man the engines. This leaves you with a measly 10% chance of evasion. So have fun getting blasted by missiles a million times. There is also a lack of sensors. It can be quite troublesome at detecting fires and borders. I do understand you're supposed to use the drones since they can detect both fires and borders respectively. But what if I don't want to use one of my energy bars just so I can keep it on? It's not too big of a problem, but it's still quite annoying. Speaking of the drones, I should probably talk about this ship's primary weakness. Its crew, or lack thereof. You start with a single ENGI, who will be in the piloting room pretty much all of the early game. It's not risk losing your precious 10% evasion. With this alone, you already miss out on one of ENGI's strengths, their ability to quickly repair. If something besides your piloting goes down, you will need to send one of your repair drones, or send the ENGI to help repair it, forcing you to leave your one and only manned station and giving you 0% evasion. Thankfully, you have a way to deal with the border problem. Kind of. The AP drone cannot fight more than 2 enemies or he will almost always get destroyed. But if you flush out the oxygen out, he can stand a chance due to him not needing oxygen. Unlike your enemies, except if they're enemies, then you're kind of screwed. The strategy to flush out all of the oxygen of the ship except in piloting, then slowly filling it back up as you get more crew, is a very effective strategy for this ship. And I must admit, having your crew be completely unbothered on the top, while the system repair drone and the AP drone do their job on the bottom, can be quite satisfying. This does have 2 major drawbacks, however. For one, the boarders can simply teleport into one of the vital rooms that one of your crew just so happens to reside in, forcing them to run through the asphyxiated ship to get to a safe place. The second downside is that if you're not careful enough and say the power the oxygen to power a system or a weapon you need, you might accidentally end up with a dead crew member and someone who has no idea how to mend their systems being forced to replace them. Not like that ever happened to me. Wait, where was I again? Oh right, the drones. The system repair drone is nice, I guess. Again, it does the job your crew would have done, but moves like a geriatric old man. And sometimes decides to repair the oxygen or the doors while their shields or weapons are broken. No air needed, so just flush out the bottom, except shields. They get their little corner, and you have a blue option in event of 2. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But believe it or not, this ship's biggest weakness is not its skeleton crew, but rather its weapons, the heavy ion and the heavy laser. Let's start with the heavy ion. Now, as far as ion weapons go, they tend to almost always be inferior to burst lasers or flak, with a few exceptions, but the heavy ion is its own league. Right off the bat, it requires 2 power, fires a single shot, and recharges for 13 seconds. That might not sound bad, but that is more time than the Burst Laser 2 and Flak 1, which both cost the same amount of energy and are excellent options for both taking down shields and systems if they get through them. Meanwhile, the Heavy Ion deals 2 ion damage, meaning it deals no actual damage to the hull, but will instead disrupt the system temporarily. That is enough to get through 1 shield layer. The previous 2 weapons can get through 3 shield layers with a single shot, assuming none of them miss. Now, to give the heavy ion some credit, the ionized shield layer is completely unusable for some time, allowing the heavy laser to get a shot or 2 in. But that only works when the enemy has 1 shield layer. After that, it becomes completely impossible to take down enemy shields because the ion effect wears off before you can get a second shot. So if you get a 2-layer fight too early, tough luck! As for the other part of the scrappy duo, the Heavy Laser 1 is a great support weapon. It can't burst down a shield by itself, but it usually doesn't need to. It only costs 1 power. You're meant to plop it in your loadout for some extra firepower until you can find or afford to run something better. However, on the ENGI B, it is meant to be the main damage dealer, utilizing the opening of the heavy ion to destroy the enemy's vital systems. There is one big problem with that, however. If either of the weapons miss, which is more than likely due to them each firing only 1 shot, you will have to start everything from scratch. That's 13 seconds you just wasted, and 13 more you will waste while the enemy continues assaulting you with missiles or gets away. Now, I get in the starting loadout of the ship, it doesn't really matter beyond like the 3rd or 4th sector. I mean, just look at the footage. But it still doesn't detract that the experience before that is absolutely miserable. There is no worse feeling than failing to deal damage continuously because either of your single shot weapons decides to not have it today and completely miss. Before I give my overall opinion, just some quick things to touch on. Something I didn't mention is that ENGI B actually has a decent amount of blue options thanks to both its heavy ion as well as its 2 drones and an ENGI, so that's cool, I guess. There's also its augment, the drone reactor booster. It's shit. In general, pretty much all the starting augments are nothing birds that you will probably sell for something more useful, but ENGI B's is downright the worst. It sounds cool. Making drones faster can actually give you a reason to use them over crew, other than the fact you're just being too lazy to move them around, of course. But the speed boost is minimal, only 12.5, I believe. So it's still not even faster than a normal human. All of these different factors result in a ship that is quite bad, but nowhere near as bad as some people tend to say it is, at least on normal. In fact, unless the game decides to screw you over and not give you any good weapons, or a laser drone, or crew, or the volley just decides to miss 4 times in a row, It can be fun and you can enjoy its gimmick. It's just quite underwhelming compared to its peers. Also, I find it really funny how when you ask most people what the ship's upside is, it's the fact that you can just like solve half of its starting kit. Also, what is Gemini on about? In what universe is this ship easy to defend? And where is that ion bombing drone? I'd like to have that. Let's start with something small. Twinge's balance mod is, as the name implies, a balance and bug fix mod that aims to, quote, improve the overall experience by fixing balance issues and by adding more interesting decisions to the game while still feeling like normal FTL, end quote. It achieves this with mixed results, but we're here for the reworked ENGI B, so let's talk about it. There are three major changes to the ship. First, its piloting has increased from level 1 to level 3. This not only means it will still have some evasion if your NG leaves to help fix something, it will keep 80% of the normal evasion, so you can still dodge a missile or two with enough luck. Even though this doesn't mean you should just leave the piloting room unmanned, it's still nice and also really gives off that feeling of the ship running itself. The second change is the buff to the heavy ion. It has now been reworked into the heavy ion stunner. Don't worry, it still only has the ability to keep one shield layer down, but the cooldown has been reduced to 12 seconds. Now it can do it consistently. Hooray, I guess. The more exciting change is the stun part of the heavy ion stunner. It now has a guaranteed chance to stun whoever is in the targeted room for 7 seconds. This is all cool and nice, I guess, but I will still replace it at the moment something better comes up, and I'm not wasting 2 weapon slots on it to make it a support weapon. The final change is to the drone reactor booster. Remember what I said about it in the base game? Making drones faster can actually give you a reason to use them over crew, other than the fact you're just being too lazy to move them around, of course. But the speed boost is minimal, only 12.5, I believe. So it's still not even faster than a normal human. Well, this mod does exactly that, making the shipboard drones 4 times faster, and it's still not good. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a super fast repair drone that fixes systems as fast as an ENGI, but it only repairs one system at a time. I'm not faulting it, of course, but when more than one system gets damaged, and especially if one of them is shields, it can snowball into a disaster that ends with you coming out of the fight with half of your hull gone. Honestly, I can applaud the Dark Twinge for trying to make this ship better, and actually doing it via modding. But it does not help all too much in the grand scheme of things. In terms of how it reworks ENGI B, it's a solid C tier. Keep in mind, all of these reworks are better than the original. After all, it's hard to go below rock bottom. Oh my god. They did it. They made the Vortex decent. I mean, it's not perfect, but wow. You know, after I decided to try out Rock Hay, I was a bit skeptical about what they were going to do to the Vortex, but color me impressed. Let's get the elephant out of the room. It can pierce 2 shields. Thank god they've done the bare minimum. The heavy laser has been replaced by dual lasers. It's boring but effective. As for the heavy ion, it has been completely replaced by the Effector Mark II. It basically functions like a mini ion bomb that only deals 1 ion damage. But get this, it fires every 8 seconds. What a novel concept, am I right? 2 weapons meant to support each other have a similar cooldown, and the laser can still be used to get through 1 shield layer. Truly groundbreaking stuff here, people.
It broke new ground!
But what about the drones? Well, not a lot has changed. The drone reactor booster now makes the drones twice as fast and allows them to function even when drone control is broken. You should still sell it, but it's the toss that counts. As for the drones themselves, the AP drone is slightly stronger now, and one of the repaired drones is gone. But here's where the things get interesting. The crew. You now have an augment which allows you to make 1 crew member per empty beacon for 15 scrap. These AI avatars are completely immune to suffocation, but only have 50 health. This might sound like it's broken, but it's kinda balanced. There is a chance that it backfires and you get boarded by 4 of them. And since they don't need air, the AP drone is going to struggle. Not to mention, they only have 50 health, so they are going to struggle with boarding. And unlike Zoltan or ENGI, they don't provide much utility outside of not needing air. Not to mention, while 15 scrap may not seem like a lot, it may be the difference between life and death. And if you make a clone too early, you may not be able to get an upgrade you need or a weapon you want. Before I give my final verdict, I would like to talk about the ENGI B's artillery. Every ship got one and you can buy it at the store. But how good is the ENGI B's? Wow. It's pure unfettered ass. First off, this thing doesn't even pierce shields. This usually isn't a problem with beams since you can time when they will fire. But keep in mind, this is an artillery, so unless constant micromanagement is done, this thing will almost always just fire straight into a wall. Now you might think,
We have a short cooldown, it lasts a very long time.
do you want to know why it lasts so long? Because it drags on forever. You'll be lucky if this thing manages to deal 1 damage before the shields come back up. Oh yeah, by the way, if a beam was already going through a room when the shields were up, it won't deal any damage to the room. Not a problem for anyone else except the XL beam. I mean, just look at this flagship footage. This is just downright sad. Oh yeah, and even if you do manage to keep all the shield layers down long enough for this thing to fire in its entirety, and by that point you basically already won, you deal like 3 damage. This thing is a joke. So overall, yeah, this rework is pretty great. Although the artillery is garbage, it keeps what makes the ENGI B itself, but gives it some more spice. And now for probably the second longest part of the video. Okay, I'm gonna have to do a confession real quick. This video would have probably been out by early August or late July if it wasn't for me getting stuck in this mod. I was just going to unlock the ENGI B in this mod, play it, and then go back to vanilla. But alas, I ended up loving the mod and spent probably around 100 hours and unlocked way too many cruisers. We are finally here. Finally ready to talk about the ENGI B. Wait a minute. This isn't the Vortex. Maybe it's the sea? No. Wait, where is the Vortex? What have they done to it? Oh god, is it not in this mod? What? Why did they get rid of it? Where did they put the ENGI B? Oh wait a minute, there it is. Why does it have a different slot though? Oh dear god, there's 3 of them. Okay, so the first thing you might think when you notice these cruisers is, who the hell are these flaming hot frauds? And where the hell is the ship's oxygen? Well, in order to answer that, I will need to go into some multiverse lore. You see, in the multiverse lore, the ENGI are a hive mind called the Harmony. While the Harmony has the best intentions in mind for both its citizens and the Federation, some ENGI do not agree with the Harmony's ways. So they liberate themselves, becoming Separatists. Unlike the Harmony, the Separatists are quite disorganized and live mainly nomadic and hermit lives. For obvious reasons, this doesn't work in the large and cruel multiverse, so Separatists have several advantages. For starters, instead of other crew, they usually tend to use shipboard drones like managers, system repair drones, and of course battle drones. Their ships also don't have any oxygen in them, and the way they survive inside of them is by going nano mode, spraying themselves out and allowing them to live without needing air, and also being immune to mind control, as well as being able to phase through doors. This does come at a massive disadvantage of not being able to fight, repair, or even heal without a lab upgrade. Though regarding the fighting part, they only take 0.3 damage from crew combat while in nanite mode, so they only have to stall out the enemy while the lack of oxygen and their signature augment slowly kills the enemy. Speaking of said augment, the murder bot dispersal will damage enemies at 2.7 HP per second. It's not the best border repellent. In fact, I'd even say it's not the best augment that kills borders, but it's certainly very nice. Okay, now that we've got the basic stuff out of the way, now we can get on to...
I am so lonely.
There's not really much I have left to say about the Separatist that I haven't explained in the general section. Really, all I have to say about it is that it starts with a chain laser as well as a neural laser, which takes 2 extra seconds compared to the heavy laser, but will stun for 11 seconds. This makes it a passable gunship. It would probably be like
B
tier in vanilla, maybe a little below the Kestrel, but it would be fine otherwise. This, however, is not vanilla, it is Multiverse. And let me tell you, Multiverse has much better cruisers than vanilla has. The manager drones are also pretty okay. They man systems at level 2, provide 1 power and cost no power. They're okay until you can get some replacement crew. And you should definitely swap at least one of them as well as the system repair drone for better drones. All in all, this thing is fine. It's quite honestly so mediocre that half the time it's kinda boring. The first thing you might notice about this cruiser is that it has a very unique paint job. You might also notice it's split in half. Your manable systems are on the upper side, while your unmanable systems are on the bottom, with the obvious exception of Clone Bay. It should be noted how this thing actually deals with borders. If they teleport in the bottom, you can just open your windows and let the vacuum of space and your nanobots slowly kill them. All while your crew are not endangered in the slightest. But if they teleport on the top, that's when it gets interesting. Because your windows and door control really won't be able to keep them for long. Whether you like it or not, you will need crew that are able to fight well, or at least stall the opponents out until the nanobots finish them.
This shit, I'm out.
There are only 3 ways to fix the system on the bottom. Have someone teleport over there, which can be only done by Duskbringers or a certain unique crew member that I will not mention for spoiler reasons. Use a repair drone, or use a repair bomb. Now don't worry, this isn't the horrible vanilla version, which might as well be paperweight. This thing is actually good. It now costs no power, and will also repair 2 hull damage to the ship. This makes it excellent to keep around, not just out of obligation, so you don't basically just have 1 less drone slot because you have to use the system repair drone, but also because you can essentially just trade missiles for health, which is really good, especially if you know you're heading into a difficult fight. The other 2 weapons, on the other hand, oh boy. The mini beam is fine. It can deal a decent amount of damage and just fires a little too slowly for my taste, but it will last you. The real troublemaker is this thing, the light laser 2. Now, you'd think for a weapon that costs 2 power, it'd be able to pierce 2 shields and let the Spectrum really shine. But nope, this thing can only keep 1 shield layer down. It can keep it down consistently, yes, but still 1 shield layer for 2 power. This basically means this thing's early game is find a weapon that's better than this thing. and make the most out of your boarding drone while you still fight ships with only 1 or 2 crew members. Funnily enough, drone and augment-wise, this thing is actually really close to its predecessor, having both an anti-personnel drone as well as 2 repair drones, and also a drone booster. It should be noted that the drone booster has actually been buffed, so now it makes all shipboard drones slightly better across the board. You can also internalize it, meaning you will be able to use it while it doesn't take up any of your slots. I would still recommend you sell it alongside the battle drone as well as the system repair drone. While it is not nearly as horrendous as the Vortex, it still relies on good early stores to really get anywhere. It's really a shame because just like its predecessor, it uses a very unique gimmick that's, as far as I know, only used on 1 other ship. And that thing is meant to be the worst ship in the game. I really hope the C variant is something good. Wait, what is this name? What is it supposed to reference? What? Okay, so apparently it's supposed to be a reference to strontium nitrate, which is a red colorant, but the ship is blue.
Why are you blue?
I mean, like, the Separatists are red, but Separatist A is red, why not name that after strontium nitrate? Anyways, the Separatist C is the 3rd and final variant of the Separatist cruiser line. And obviously, for a faction focused on crew drones, we were inevitably going to have a cruiser focused on boarding drones. Judging by its description and the starting teleporter, you'd think this cruiser would focus on using your Separatist to distract the enemy while your Mark II boarding drone deals damage. But you can easily just send the boarding drone alone and you'll be fine. Not only is your drone quite tanky and deals a decent amount of damage, you can also use the stun bomb, which while having a long recharge, will paralyze the enemy for 25 seconds, in addition to dealing 5 ion damage. With proper micromanagement, this can easily turn fights in your favor. But even if you screw up the timing, the drone is only stunned for half the time normal crew is. Obviously, due to the teleporter you start with, you should probably install life support early on so you can host aerobic crew and have a decent boarding party. Now, whether you will use the boarding drone later on or just sell him immediately is a matter of one's own preference. It requires 3 reactor power, so personally I like selling it once I have a decent boarding party, but you do you. Like most boarding ships, this cruiser's biggest weakness is its underwhelming weaponry. Aside from the stun bomb, the only other weapon it has is a Pierce heavy laser. A good early game weapon, yes, but later on you will need other weapons to pierce the shields. It should also be noted that just like hacking, boarding drones fly physically to the enemy ship, meaning Zoltan's shield bypass will not work. One last thing before I wrap this up, boarding drones will return if they're not destroyed. Overall, this ship is fine, I don't really have that much to say about it. And with that, we have finished all 3 of the Separatist cruisers. Don't get me wrong, compared to the original, all 3 of these are actually really good, but they're incredibly boring, honestly. Before I end this segment, I would like to highlight some other one-man cruisers, which I would recommend you check out, as well as auto cruisers, where the middleman has been thrown out and the ship is now fully ran by drones and an intelligent AI that mans all systems. You can still get crew, but you will need to install the oxygen and the medbay. And again, you can have less crew than you normally can. And so comes the end of our journey. We've looked at many versions of the Vortex, some better than others. This video was a labor of love, and even though I did procrastinate a lot, I enjoyed every second of making it. If you like this video, I'd appreciate if you liked or subscribed. No pressure though. I really hope to make more of these videos, though probably smaller than this one. I have nothing else left to say, so have a pleasant day and goodbye.